Hello there, wondrous beasts of YouTube and the internet alike. Brandon Valentine here, and I'm here today to talk about the new King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album, Infest, the Rat's Nest. Now, straight off the bat, if you're a fan in any capacity of King Giz, you will know that with each album they kind of pick a theme and they explore that until it's done. Nonagon Infinity had cyclical cycles as a theme. Polygon Land had obviously polyrhythms and was super influenced by earlier prog rock. Murder of the Universe was an exercise in narrative storytelling through song. Flying Microtonal Banana obviously was about microtones and using the space in between notes. The theme that they're clearly exploring here with Infest the Rat's Nest is, simply put, heavy. This is easily the heaviest body of work that I've ever heard from them, which is definitely a turn for them, because obviously King Giz is so much more of a psych rock band, but they've got a really good relationship with frantic energy, that intense energy that they brought forward in albums like Nonagon Infinity and Murder of the Universe. Now, the heaviness that is really coming to the forefront in this album could be best described, at least to me, by it sounding very much like Motorhead. There is a lot of that gunky, grungy, unrefined and loving it kind of heavy. There are parts on this album that sound very much, at least to me, like Motorhead and 13th Floor Elevators had a love child. For one, the drums in this are relentless. This entire album is loving, intense drums that actually remind me half the time like the opening to Painkiller from Judas Priest. Probably not an influence to them, but nonetheless. I was really curious about how King Giz were going to explore heavy, but they managed to pull it off really interestingly. This breakneck speed, but also just tons of attitude, namely your gizzardisms, which would be things like this noise. So this is definitely their angriest album, and that's not just sonically, but also thematically. I've stated this in a prior review that I think it's impossible to listen to a piece of music and not imprint what you are experiencing in the world around you upon it. So listening to even the opening track, Planet B, with the lyrics, "There is no Planet B," making me really think about the fact of us killing and destroying our planet and just assuming we can hop and skip to another one and everything's going to be just fine, which of course it's not going to be. Recycle, you bastards. So it's definitely got an anger but also a hopelessness to it, which is really, really conducive with the heavy immediacy of the music that is going on behind it. And then moving straight onto the song Mars for the Rich. The kind of basis of all this material is that the wealthy are prepping themselves for a little way out, that they've always got an answer because of their money. And in this case, it's that they can get to Mars. Ah, God, I couldn't help it. Now, although I'm reading a lot of allegory into this album, I also do know that King Gizzard love to set up concept albums that live within a certain universe that they've created, the Gizverse. And sometimes that allegory isn't a straight up thing. Sometimes it is just more the soundtrack to the universe they've created, in which case this is a interesting and hella crazy sci-fi, like dystopian future story, but I'm a person who loves allegory and that's what I'm reading out of it. So, you clicked on my review. You're along for the ride now. Mars for the Rich has some great groovy and don't shoot the messenger on this, but at times nearly reminiscent of 70s trucker rock. But then we'll move on to like a track like Superbug, which has huge, big, thick, Sabbathy patience around the notes, and very much like early Sabbath, some of this has a lot of that underlying stringy kind of little guitar licks. There's got a few little tracks off here, like Organ Farmer, which definitely remind me of hardcore punk, and of course, all the while being filtered through the minds of King Giz, who are very musically proficient people. They know their way around some pretty varied music. A lot of heavy bands, or bands experimenting with heavy sounds, will really just stick to a kind of prescribed notage, mostly being pentatonic or straight up minor, but these little chromatic twangs and a lot of the influence that comes from bands like Yes and some jazz influences and Eastern music and Arabic music, and even when you look at all the microtonal stuff, there's influence from Turkish music. When you mix this with the fact that King Giz loves playing in some odd time signatures, it really helps them give their heavy riffs and their heavy even just chords a real nice vibrance of their own. And so what this really just means, when you boil away all the fancy theory talk, is that there is a certain depth and dimension to their heavy riffs that are bringing in that actually a lot of heavy bands don't do. So you can listen to this 34-minute strongly heavy album with not too many ups and downs. It's pretty relentless through the whole listen, but it doesn't get boring, it doesn't get too much, it doesn't fatigue your ears, because you have these little 1%ers that pop in. Nice little chromatics, a bar ending short, and so that musical proficiency really helps them make refreshing heavy music. So all in all, I have to say I really dig this album. It's definitely high energy. You know, if you're a certain King Gizzard listener, if you're looking for Head on a Pill or Sketches of Brunswick East, you are not going to find that here, young chap. This album hits very hard and fast from start to finish. It is dirty, it is nasty, compared to a lot of heavy music now, which is very refined. Bands that I really love, but they are very polished. Where the distortion and the guitar sounds in this album are just flat out cruel. They're just mean. They're just distorted, it sounds like someone's kicked a hole in the amp. Oddly enough, that's really refreshing to me as a heavy music listener. It's really great to listen to something that does sound that nasty. But all that being said, I can absolutely and very easily see that there are going to be a lot of Gizzard fans who maybe can't get behind this album. But if you're a fan of Nonagon or Murder, it's taken that furious punk vibe and just added Lemmy to it. So there's no rating system here. So all I can do is recommend that you go give this a hell of a listen, and make sure you listen to it on a good Friday night or at the gym, because it's relentless. It's a hell of a listen. And with that, I'm Brandon Valentine. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Go check out King Giz, for goodness sake. Oh yes, self-promotion, calls to action. I forgot to do those. That's always fun, where I plead with you guys. Oh yes. Like my videos, subscribe to me, yes, do the things. I really hate doing this, but sometimes you gotta remind people,